Every game has its iconic moments, just as every genre of gaming has its iconic games. With every debut of level design, action sequence, narrative event, gamers judge and weigh what works and what does not, and subsequently, so too do the developers. Over time, the best of these moments have been picked out, fine-tuned and refined into staples of their genres, some even being turned into entire genres of their own. And this is a chase sequence from the game Itera. To keep it very clear from the start, Itera is a great game, a game that I had enjoyed exploring and learning about its world, traversing its maps and meeting its characters, right up until this point. This level single-handedly ruined that experience. Now I'm glad to say, having completed it, that the game does return to awesome, providing interesting boss encounters and expanding the world with some frankly beautiful landscapes throughout. And so my dislike of this level normally would have been the end of it. A level I didn't get along with in a game that I otherwise thoroughly enjoyed. That would have been the case if it wasn't for the fact that this level is a trope, and its inclusion seems more like developing by the numbers rather than for the betterment of the game. And that really got me thinking, just how often do we see these standardized levels included in games? Platformers have their chases, FPS have their turrets, action-adventure protagonists will be stripped of their abilities in the mid-game, someone will need to do a stealth mission, and everyone will need to survive the Horde. And I mean everyone. Need a door opened? Prep for the Horde. Found a base to develop? Hold back the Horde. Want to play online with friends? You can bet your cat there's a Horde mode built just for that. And it makes sense why. These are iconic sequences, moments that have lived on in gaming long after the original games which introduced them have become lost to the incessant advance of technology, to the point where as players, we often expect them. A platformer without a chase sequence would likely feel incomplete. Picking up a new weapon and not immediately being attacked by just the perfect enemies for it would leave its use ambiguous, and our anticipation for what it does and how it works unfulfilled. After all, coming from stories, tropes are just writers' shorthand. They're a quick way to set the tone and get the reader thinking and feeling as the writer needs to allow their story to have the desired impact, and freeing up that letter count for more substantial developments elsewhere. So why not transition this into game design? These levels have their own atmosphere, instilled instantly upon the player thanks to countless reinforcement over time. And all that reinforcement, of course, simultaneously opens the route for nostalgia. A chance to reminisce, even if only briefly, the times you triumphed over similar occasions. And since we know them, we instinctively know how to tackle them, reducing the need for tutorialization and hand-holding and opening the world up to greater levels of immersion. Basically, it's an all-round great tool to use. Tropes are good and exist for these very reasons. What they do not exist for, though, is to provide a guide on how to make a game. For every skin of your teeth chase you'll have to deal with several far more dull affairs elsewhere. For every nail-biting horde to descend upon you, hundreds more will do little more than slow the pace of the game. For every good turret section, which saying that I kind of challenge you to find me one, as honestly, let's face facts, does anyone like turret sections? Now I do feel this trope thankfully is on the decline, but there was a time back in the early 2000s, 2010s where every freaking shooter had one, and even when it made literally zero sense in game. They're incredibly tedious affairs, either impossible to lose, in which case kindly spare me the time of my life as you have wasted the joy of this game, or they can be lost, and to great annoyance as you stand motionless on your inferior rail shooter against such odds that to complete them, you literally have to channel your inner Bruce Campbell. The development of gaming from outsider art to niche experimentation to mainstream consumption has mirrored that of cinema in many aspects, and I fear the use of tropes will be much the same. The awkward time in gaming's life where pioneers of the past are no longer providing the foundations of vision, but the walls that now bind it. Take Doom for example. The original. Side point, who the hell decided numerical sequencing was a thing of the past? Because all they've done is screwed up everyone's libraries. But in the original Doom, when coming to a door, searching for a key within a labyrinthian level design makes sense. It draws upon an aspect of the core gameplay loop, exploring the map, finding secrets, and gathering resources to explore further. The combat itself provides the moment-to-moment exhilaration, but you'll likely never complete the game if that's all you do. And you'll definitely never see the full game thanks to all its secret levels and many powerful armaments being hidden. The design reinforces the gameplay and the gameplay supports the design. But it doesn't just end there. This design is introduced gradually, with each door requiring more and more exploration to uncover the key, introducing multiple steps and arranging resources and secrets around the routes the player will travel so as to complete this task. It is not a one and done affair. The door and key are not there because they have to be. They are there because the developer wants them to be. With a level built around this carrot and stick formula, or at least it's that, or I'm reading way too much into this and the devs just basically used it as a less overt method of sticking the message, "Go forth and explore the map, you moron," popping up every time you run out of resources or can't proceed. Either way, it not only works, but feels like a natural process to the game. Now, on the other hand, let's take one of the Call of Duties. A game with vastly improved graphics, more advanced AI, a narrative conveyed in more than just the world and writing between levels, a lot of additional tactical options in interacting with your squad, maps with greater verticality and multiple means of approach, not to mention substantially more fluid controls. All sounds good on paper, but each section of the story is defined by its set piece. And just before we go over one, as you're listening in, comment below if you can guess which one it is. Your AI partner takes the lead. They tell you where to go, what to do, and who to shoot. You stop along your set piece tour to view the skybox and hold your breath as you wait to move around the enemy. Because if you engage them without that order, it's all over. Until all hell breaks loose. Make your retreat, fire at everything, but the enemy keeps coming. Deploy your traps, draw back when told until finally, cutscene sees you escape thanks to the efforts of NPC with slightly more defined character design because they are named in cutscenes number 1, because even though they're named, that doesn't mean you'll remember them. Points to all who guessed Blops 2. This level isn't there to progress the story. It doesn't serve the core gameplay loop, it interrupts it. And I would say costing resources, but with regenerating health, a bountiful supply of portable armories, and the fact that you'll be topped up at the start of each level anyway, just means whatever happens in one instance literally doesn't matter to your overall progress. The game has been built with set pieces in mind, the environment then built to serve these set pieces, and the story awkwardly written to link them together. The core gameplay loop left at FPS, one gun, new gun, big gun, done. And there lies the problem. The cliches and tropes of games came about as core aspects of game design. They worked alongside the core gameplay, reinforcing each other, elevating each other's positive aspects, while reducing each other's flaws. They weren't the foundation, or what was built upon it. They were both. Each needed the other. Mario ran from the left screen edge to the right, so when the left screen edge came after him, it drew upon the core gameplay you'd been using throughout the game, reimagining it and reinforcing all you had learned to provide a new and interesting challenge, while feeling like a natural progression of the game itself. In later years, that screen edge was visualized as water, acid, lava, monsters and bosses, increasing in scope and length as time has advanced. Sometimes it failed to live up to its former glories, other times the thrill of the chase would burn brighter than ever, and the point of this barely coherent rambling on prevalent levels, their design and subsequent repetitions throughout time? The use of trope and cliche is fine, so long as it serves its purpose. Because if it doesn't, if its use doesn't further the narrative, reimagining or recontextualizing prior game mechanics, reinforce and be reinforced by the core gameplay loop to appear a natural progression of the game and how it plays, then at best, it's just a gimmick. And at worst, it's just another tick in the game design checklist. The game design, the level design is only limited by a developer's imagination. From the world to its inhabitants, developers have complete control over everything they put in. In an industry where not even the skies are the limits, there's no need for design by committee. The potential is endless and developers are out there exploring those skies, defying convention, learning from the past, integrating good ideas, using their tropes and cliches to enhance their own stories, to quickly establish the game and how it works, and oft more importantly, what tale it is that must be told. Freeing up the rest of the game to focus on the details, to develop their gameplay and delve ever deeper this world they have created. I utterly commend those doing it right. Now, in order to make this video, I've used an insane amount of clips, so do check in the description for links to all the channels I've gotten them from. And finally, a massive shout out to the indie gamer Brit for inspiring the whole thing. With all that said, Idara is a damn good game. So if you'll excuse me, I have some guardian spirits to say. Until next time, as always, peace out.